powerful testimony.
Okay, folks, for those of you watching this on YouTube, this is we're live. I'm live on the air, and you can come watch this live if you'd like to. But I got Pastor Steve Leidig on here, and he is the pastor of the Tri-State Ministries Church in Hyndman, Pennsylvania, which has now become the command center for this catastrophe that has happened in Hyndman, Pennsylvania. And we have a train derailment. There are cars on fire. There is highly toxic, flammable, liquid things that are rail cars there, propane gas, a car full of...
Pastor Paul, everybody's evacuated.
There's no one left. There's nobody left in Hyndman.
It's a waiting game now.
There's propane. There's liquid petroleum. There's phosphoric acid potentially. We don't know what all this car...
I'm watching right now as I'm talking to you. The people that are coming into the church right now, they are not... They are some black suit, tucked in. You're talking... I don't know who's all here.
Well, the governor's there. You got FEMA.
The governor is here.
The governor's in the church. You got the FEMA. You got all these guys, black SUVs. You got the hazmat crews. You got the EPA. You got all the feds. You got a helicopter out front. You've got everybody. When the governor of the state cancels everything and comes to Hyndman, Pennsylvania, here's what's going on, folks. Pastor Steve is just telling us that, and we're showing people on our other, I'm live on the air on YouTube as well. We're showing people the actual pictures. The train went through a house. It cut a house in half. A man and wife were in bed. The man said the train came within 10 feet of him and it didn't kill him. He came down to the church. Tell us what happened, Pastor Steve.
Well, I came into the church with my good friend, and he won't mind me to use his name. He's a walking testimony for Jesus, Ron Spiker. And the train actually derailed probably within 75 yards, 80 yards of his house. But Harry lived by him, and Harry said that the train came through his house. And he woke up, he and his wife, and the train had literally came through their home. And about 10, 15 feet, I take it, he saw the train. He woke up out of bed and there was a train in his home.
What?
He came down here to the church, and I walked into the church. And my buddy Ronnie told me about it. And Harry was there. He was crying. He was weeping. And we got talking. Hey, he gave his heart to Jesus Christ. He got saved. We filled a Bible out for him. And, it's kind of like the day the train jumped the track, he jumped on the track. You know what I mean? He got on the gospel track, you know?
He came down to the church, and he wanted to get a hold of God. He wanted to find you. And your church ends up becoming the command center for this whole thing. And the governor's there. Are they afraid this thing's... There's a no-fly zone now. I'm hearing you say there's a no-fly zone over the whole area.
That's confirmed. There's a no-fly zone anywhere. And I just heard something, Pastor Paul, and I'm just telling you, we don't know. The public's wondering what in the world's going on. This isn't... Maybe this is just a status quo response, but let me tell you, it seems that there is very high-ranking public officials and the governor and more on the property right now. They've been flying people in with helicopters and stuff.
Is it possible is it even possible that the President of the United States or the Vice President Mike Pence might actually, I don't know if they would actually come to such a, the situation
Well,
is...
we are we're only an hour, roughly 2 hours from Washington, D.C., so hey, you never know, man.
Well, the governor's there, and here's the thing. This town, Hyndman, Pennsylvania, I've preached 3 years in a row for Pastor Steve Leidig at his church there in Hyndman, Pennsylvania, at Tri-State Ministries, and I'm coming next month. I think something's happening. God is sending a sign. I think this is a national sign.
Yes, and that's what I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
That's
I don't
okay.
want to forget. I meant to tell you this, Pastor Paul. When I walked into the church, we have talked about it at our church, because this church is kind of like it's on the state line, Pastor Paul, but it's like in the middle of everything. Where we split Pittsburgh and Baltimore almost right down the middle, like 2 hours one way, 2 hours the other way. Philadelphia's out to the east. We're kind of like in this hub, and I'll leave that alone for now, but I'm only telling you to say that we have always talked about how this church could become a safe haven, a place of refuge, a place where they would come out of the cities and a place where people would come to for hope. We found out, Pastor Paul, that our church, we have a well that runs under our church, and this is the exact terminology they gave us when they tested the water. They said this church's well, and I think they used the word like unprecedented or unbelievable. They said this well could provide water for an entire community, just this one well that you have on this property. And when I walked in here today and I saw all the emergency personnel, I mean, it's unbelievable what's here. The crane to move the trains here. I mean, the bulldozer's here, and one track from the crane is almost as big as the bulldozer. I mean, these vehicles are massive. But I'm just saying, I asked a couple people at church, and they said, man, they said, and I paraphrase, we feel this is a sign. We feel this is just a glimpse of things to come. We feel this is that we need to be ready for this. Because, Pastor Paul, something really happens. This is the difference. If something really goes on nationwide like this, you don't have all the emergency personnel at your church.
No.
You're left to do it. You're left to figure it out, you know?
Pastor Steve,
boy,
let me ask you.
Talking in those terms.
Pastor Steve, couple things. The reason the bulldozers and everybody are at your church and not at the site where the derailment is because they're concerned the thing may blow. That's what I'm hearing you say. They're concerned it's too dangerous to go in. The fire's burning right next to the cars that carry all of this explosive liquid, and so they can't get down there. The whole town of Hyndman, Pennsylvania, there's not a soul left in the town. Everybody's out of there, and this thing may blow. Plus, is there any possibility that this acid, could it be leaking? Have you heard anything about leaking? Because we're talking water. Now you're talking.
I have heard that word used. But in connection with the rail car, I believe you have the picture of the rail cars. One of those rail cars is leaking, and that one's not the major threat. Listen, this is just what we're being told. But let me tell you, there's people around here right now that's really trying to figure out what's going on. Let me just put it that way. I heard one of the top-ranking guys. He actually came in. They kindly took control of our office at church. They weren't being rude at all, but they had to. They had to do this. And I actually overheard a conversation he was having of the seriousness of what's happening, and it's serious. I mean, it is very serious.
Wow.
And I don't know how much more. I mean, it could get serious. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
At this point, it's the waiting game. I mean, if this goes the wrong way, there could be some serious situations for Hyndman. And I'm told, this is what I'm being told, that this command center could go on here for at least 3 days now.
Yeah, this is
and
because they can't get in. They can't get into the actual site. Brock keep putting it on the screen, the overhead view of what's happened, the derailment. They can't get in there because the fire is still burning and the car is still leaking, and the other cars are a ticking time bomb if they ignited, and so you can't get in there. Not yet. They got to let this fire cool down. I'm sure they're putting a strategic plan together. That's why hazmats, FEMA, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, the EPA, the governor of Pennsylvania, everybody, the feds are in there. And folks, pray for Hyndman, Pennsylvania. Pray for this town. We don't want to see these things explode. There's a no-fly zone now in effect. This is a very serious situation. And Pastor Steve Leidig in Hyndman, his church, Tri-State Ministries, is the command center. The governor's there. Everybody's there. And we're just going to continue to pray, Pastor Steve. We're just going to continue to pray.
Pastor Paul, I do want to emphasize, and you can carry this on if you want to when we get off here. I do believe this is a sign. I do believe this is a sign, and it's in connection, I think, for us. And now, people get signs all over the world, but for us, I think it really is letting us know a glimpse, Pastor Paul, of what's coming as we get closer to the end of the age and the return of Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Just a glimpse.
I agree.
Just a glimpse. You let volcanoes go off, you let things start happening, and this solar eclipse comes across the country, and 7 years later, another one, and the New Madrid fault, and the seismic activity. Hey, churches, we're going to have to be ready, Pastor Paul. You know that. We're going to have to be ready.
Amen. Amen. This, I believe, is a prophetic, without question, prophetic sign of the days and events that's coming upon the land. And this is a precursor. This is to let you know, folks, It's beginning. That super volcano in Yellowstone is it's rumbling. They had 2 earthquakes there yesterday. I haven't even a chance to look and see what it's done today. It's every day. That thing's alive. This solar eclipse coming across the country, I believe, is a warning. Mark Biltz is going to be my guest on Friday. Pastor Mark Biltz of Washington. He and myself, Pastor Steve, we're in several articles today where we're being quoted now that we believe this solar eclipse is a prophetic sign of the end times.
Oh, I think it has to be.
And what's happening in your church, there is no doubt in my mind that this is a right now word from God, a right now revelation from God, and God is using you. There's a reason that we've hooked up together 3 years ago. There's a reason the nation is going to realize this is the time we're in. And
who would have ever thought the governor of Pennsylvania would be at our church? I mean, this is just, I'm standing here thinking, I've got to pick up on I know that the Lord's speaking something here, and I have a feeling it's with the area of preparation, because Pastor Paul, people run to the church. I mean, they run to the churches. When rubber meets the road, where are they going to go? The hotel, I just heard the hotel is absolutely full. They're coming to the church now. I mean, so we got to be ready. I told one of our ministers here, I said, we have to be ready for something major, because you can see, they're going to come to the church.
Yes. I'm going to let you go, Pastor Steve. I'll be in touch with you. I'll be calling and checking on you. We'll discuss a little more.
Hey, thank you, Pastor Paul. Love you guys. Have a great day. Call me anytime.
All right. God bless. Pastor. That's Pastor Steve Leidig, and you heard it, and they're coming, and they're saying now this could be a 3-day event. You have an entire town been evacuated. This is out in the middle of nowhere. There's not enough hotels for all those people. Where are they going to go? They're going to come to the church. The church is now the command center. All right, we need to pray for Hyndman, Pennsylvania.